Ever feel like there's just never enough hours in the day to get everything done? Between the schedules, the deployments, the kids, the moving, the to dos, it's easy to get lost in the chaos of it all. In this episode, I sit down with Dr. Amelia Duran Stanton to tackle the question on everyone's mind: how in the world do I prioritize my time when everything feels important? Buckle up for an honest conversation about prioritizing yourself, figuring out what your big rocks are, and how to reclaim your life and dreams in just 5 minutes a day. Welcome to More Than a Milspouse, the podcast for military spouses who want to live with more meaning and less overwhelm. I'm your host, Christine, seasoned military spouse, mom of 3, life coach, and your guide to intentionally designing a life you're excited about as a military spouse. I'm here to help you get the clarity you need so you can get unstuck and unlock your purpose and potential. Because you, my friend, are more than a milspouse. You have something valuable to offer. And when you pursue the things that light your heart on fire, you trade frustration for fulfillment and isolation for a life of impact. It's time to discover who you are meant to be, because together we can change the world. Today, I'm sitting down with Dr. Amelia Duran Stanton, author of the book, The Lotus Within: Grow Your Purpose and Ignite Your Passion. Purpose is something we talk a lot about here on the podcast. So first off, welcome to More Than a Milspouse. I'd just like to start our conversation today by having you share a little bit about your time in the service and what led you to what you do today.
Sure, Christine. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said when we were chatting offline, that the military spouse are near and dear to my heart. Being one when we were dual military, and then my husband became one as well. So that switch. So my career path took me from high school. I joined when I was 17. My mom said, "We don't have money for college. I'm going bankrupt." I was like, "Oh no, what do we do?" So a lot of our folks have the same concerns when they want to do things, but there's a barrier. So my sister and I were in the same grade. We're actually looking for the recruiter ourselves. Instead of the recruiters coming to us, we went to them and said, "Hey, we want to join." And we chose the Army. And from then on, I joined as enlisted, and then the opportunity became available to be a PA. So I jumped on that, got accepted, became a PA, and then specialized in orthopedics. And along the way, my passion, even growing up, has always been education and helping other people. And of course, throughout my career, the ones that usually reach out to me are the junior officers, the women, and also the military spouses, because it is a small percentage of us that are active duty or in the military, and we gravitate to our fellow women. And most of the time, when we're all over the world, it's the military spouses. I think I have a lot to share with that particular audience. And in fact, the book is targeting the military spouse. I hope that they find it helpful.
Absolutely. Talk about where the idea for this book originated from.
Absolutely. So throughout my career and throughout my life, it's always, they tell us, bloom where you're planted. So that blooming and a flower, and then what kind of flower actually blooms where they're planted, and also where there's no sunlight and they grow in mud. So that was the existence of that lotus flower. And also I was brainstorming with a friend that I made an acronym out of it, Life of Timeless Unbound Strategy. So that's how that came about. And then Grow Your Purpose and Ignite Your Passion is basically, regardless of where you are in the world, you don't have to have a lot of money, you don't have to travel, you don't have to spend all kinds of resources. You can grow where you're planted, just following the step-by-step agenda that I have from the beginning to end, and will help you wherever you are. So that's how it came about. Also, I'm in the twilight of my military career, and I wanted to leave a legacy. When I was stationed in Germany, I came upon a course that was teaching us how to create online courses. So this came out as my course at first. I actually have the modules for that. When we moved back to the States, I had enough products to actually write an enduring book. So even though I may not be in person teaching a course, or you're not reviewing the videos of the course, you can do it on your own. So from the beginning to end, you can be your own advocate for yourself in making changes in your life. And I also energized my daughter, who's an art major, to do the artwork inside of the book. So it's like a family affair to get everybody together and share what we know, because we all still struggle. I mean, even the things that I put down on there, don't think that I'm the ultimate expert on this. Sometimes it's difficult to wake up in the morning as well. So I know the struggle, and I've been there, and I want to help.
It is such a journey. Life is just this journey, and we constantly have unpredictable things that happen. And so it's something that just because you know the information, you still have to apply it to your life on the daily basis for it to
Yes,
be effective. So there's a big
absolutely.
difference between talking about purpose and passion than there
Mhm.
is doing orthopedics. So what really brought about this passion for you?
So the way I explain it to people is, when I was young, I call myself an old soul because I was left with my grand aunts, who was like, they were in like 50s and 60s, and the people that I hung out with are older than me. And the way that they took care of me and the way that they showed love is by teaching me. So that's how I realized. And there were also instructors, teachers, and authors and writers in my family that I looked up to. Even I was 3 or 4 years old, and it just ingrained in me that you can't just live by yourself alone. You have to build somebody else up along the way. Otherwise, why even exist? So that's what's ingrained in me at a very young age. And I find it rewarding also, even though I may not get the accolades or things brought back to me to say, oh, you did this for me. But along the way, I can see the ones that I've helped, helping other people. So it's that building a bench along the way. And regardless of age, I mean, somebody that's older than me or younger than me can be helping me, and vice versa. So a lot of the junior officers and women younger than me are the ones teaching me about technology. They're the ones
Mhm.
teaching me how to do new things, how to set up my computer. We had to reboot our computers. You have to be humble in this type of work, and also this type of passion, because that's how you connect with other people, where they know that you're at the same level that they are.
Absolutely. So, talk about some of the principles in the book and how
Sure.
they specifically can help military spouses.
Yes, absolutely. So you can't go back in the book and start from the back and then go backwards, right? Because there's a reason why it's sequenced. Because what I've learned is, when I'm coaching, teaching, mentoring women, is that their only goal is, I want to manage my time and I want to prioritize. But if you only go through that way, you're not really honing in on what the real issues are. So from the beginning, it goes by to your childhood, the way that I'm telling you about my childhood and how I came up. Because some people didn't have great experiences in their childhood, but you have to look at what got you here, because whatever struggles you had got you to where you are, that you have to give yourself credit for. A lot of it may be traumatic, but in the end, it's something that brought you to where you are. And then the other, so that's retrospective. And then the other is prospective. When you're 90 years old, or when you're in your deathbed, or somebody's eulogizing you, what do you want them to say? So that's why I gave an example in the book of my own, what I wrote as my eulogy, where other people are thanking me for what I've done and I'm no longer here. What legacy am I leaving? So that's another way that women can be helped, is not only are you going backwards, but you're also going much forward in advance, and then going to where you are right now. What's your passion, that ikigai, that Venn diagram of figuring out what people are going to pay you for, what you're good at, what's your passion, etc., and honing it down. And not only are you asking yourselves these questions, you need to ask your significant other, involve other people that you value their opinion, to figure out what that is. And then along the way, from that backwards planning, is figuring out what, because everybody has the same hours in a day, 24 hours, 7 days a week, and 365 days. We all have the same amount. A lot of people look at me or tell me, ma'am, can you do so much? I prioritize. I use the Eisenhower Matrix. I time block. I prioritize my family to make sure I have time for them as well. So it's a balancing act depending on what you're doing throughout the day. But the main thing, regardless of what you do, is prioritize yourself, because I found that especially military spouses are notorious for this. Is I'm taking care of my spouse and I'm taking care of my kids, and then I have to go to work, and then I come home, I'm tired. Now there's laundry to get done, the dinner, so you get overwhelmed, run over. So main thing is in the morning time, taking time for yourself first so that you knock that out and you're fresh and ready to help others. So I think the majority of anything and everything that I can give back is letting women know, prioritize yourself.
Which is such a challenge, um,
Yes.
and something that we have to talk about a lot, because it's one thing to say, and we all know that we should take care of ourselves. But when it comes to, okay, I got to take the kids here, my spouse is going to
Mhm.
be gone here, there's no
Mhm.
one else to do all the things but me. And that's what we tell ourselves. As a result, it's very easy for us to put ourselves last. So, number one, what are some practical ways that we can prioritize ourselves? And number two, I know you mentioned taking time first thing in the morning, but I know some of us are morning people and some of us are night owls. So does it matter what time of day that happens?
Yeah, great point. So, metaphor that I try to use to people is when you're in a plane and it's about to crash, when they're telling you put on the oxygen and you're inclined to give it to your child because you want them to survive, and then all of a sudden you're not giving yourself that oxygen, right? So that's the main thing with this concept, is that you put your the oxygen to for yourself first, because otherwise you're not really going to benefit anybody else along the way. So that's the same thing with this. So in terms of night owls and also morning people, but whenever that is, whenever, because at the end of the day, when you've done everything else, regardless of the time frame, it's the beginning of the day, is because that's when you wake up and you're about to take care of the kids. Even just, it takes 3 weeks to build a habit, right? So just do your best, even though you don't want to, wake up 5 minutes earlier than you used to, and focus on yourself and figure out what you need to do in order to replenish yourself, whether that be, some people like to do yoga, some like to read the Bible, some just to like to just sit there, write a journal. So whatever small thing you can do for yourself, takes 5 minutes for 3 weeks, do it. And of course, along the way, you'll probably incrementally increase that, but you don't have to be sitting around at 9 o'clock saying, I didn't do anything for myself, because you already did it. So that's one simple thing that I think is manageable. And then the other is, don't just say that and say, oh, I'll do it for 3 weeks. Make it smart, make it specific, whether that be journaling, measurable, 3 weeks, attainable, 5 minutes, relevant. It's relevant is because it's something you want to do, journal about your day or the day prior, and then time bound. So every morning for 3 weeks, I will do journaling to help myself get centered for as a new habit. So that's an example of one that's really doable, because it's so easy.
I know firsthand how much of a difference this has made in my life. When I used to just kind of let the day happen and wake up when my kids woke up, I was not the mom that I needed to be. I was not the spouse I needed to be. And
Mhm.
really having a little bit of time, whether that's 5 minutes, whether that's an hour, whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
if I have time for myself first thing in the morning before the day comes at me,
Yes.
I am able to deal with everything that happens so much better. And the more that you do it, the more you get used to it. Because
Yes.
I remember a time in my life when I was like, there's no way I would wake up early in the morning. And I've been waking up super early for like 7 years now, because I've seen the difference that it makes in my life.
Yes, and you have control of it, right? Because if you don't control your time, or if you don't manage your own time, somebody else will. Your kids will, your spouse will, somebody at work. So it's better to jump on that opportunity, because you do have control of whatever you do in the morning, and whatever that is something that will benefit you in the long run.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to this idea of managing our time, because it's something that we think about a lot, and like, how do I fit this all in to my
Mhm.
calendar, because there's more things and more requests of me than I actually have time in the day. And what you said earlier is going back to figuring out what you want, what you're passionate about, and knowing about your past and the legacy that you want to leave and how you want to show up today. Why is that so important in your opinion? And what happens when we try to set our calendar without doing that self reflection work first?
Yes. So I'm an advocate for everybody to read The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, right? Because you can have a lot of small rocks, and when you're trying to put it in your jar, all those small rocks, when you try to put the big ones, they'll outflow and you don't get them done. So all those little tasks or ankle biters that you put in because you didn't focus on the big stuff. So that's why it's important to figure out where you want to be at the end of your life, or at the end. Because to me, one example that I give people is I did a doctorate in education because I want to teach online in my pajamas when I retired from the military. And now I can do that, right? Is because that was a big rock for me. But also, especially in the military, we tend to prioritize everything army, right? Army, 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 mission, mission, family comes last. But we've had a shift now where they actually want you to take care of your family, because when at the end of your career, who's going to be there? The army will continue rolling along, and you're somewhere at the pharmacy waiting for your medication, and your spouse left you, your kids hate you. So when you're in the now, those are the things that you can control right now. How are you prioritizing? Like yesterday was Mother's Day. Did you plan that out way in advance, or are you just winging it and say, oh dang, I forgot about Mother's Day? So those are the little things, right? So what's important to you? So to me, when my husband and I are doing these every year at the end of the year to figure out what we can do better. The main things that we focus on are the ones that I outlined in the book: is the family. Of course, our careers are always there. And then, of course, financial. You can't do anything without having the money to do it. And of course, we love to travel. We love to eat. We like to learn new things. So those are always the big rocks that we try to fit in the schedule. But then when you're doing your plans, there are also medium rocks that may be events that you need to go to. And then also the small rocks are the events that come up at work where you have to meet certain deadlines. So those are the things that I think, as long as you know what your big rocks are and you are hitting them as often as you can and you're not neglecting them, I think you will be fine with however you prioritize in your daily time.
Yeah, I know it seems a little counterproductive, but when I took the time to say, not just what do I want to be doing this year, but
Yeah.
what do I want long term? What is that
Right.
vision? What kind of legacy? Who do I want to become in the process? And how can I start infusing more of that in my life today? That made such a bigger difference because it allowed me to be able to say, okay, what are the things that I really want to spend my time on? And what are the things that just aren't as important to me? Just because somebody asked me to volunteer for this event, is that something that lines up with what I'm passionate about and what
Okay.
kind of things I want to do with my life and my time? And it's much easier to be able to tell somebody, no, I can't do that, when you're clear on what your values are, what you're trying to build, and what you want.
Absolutely. So that the art of saying no, you hit the nail on the head, because we are so notorious for that. Yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll go to another committee. Yes, I'll organize that. And all of a sudden you're looking at and like, what, how is this benefiting me? What's my strategy? That's why I told you in the beginning, is a lot of women just look at the time management prioritization, but what's the strategy? What's the end state of what you're really trying to do? What's the quality of life? Because if you don't prioritize yourself, you're 80 years old and you can't travel. Now you're in a wheelchair. Because even now, when my husband and I travel, because we're still young, and we take advantage of the weekends that we have, the people that are showing up to the national parks or museums are the boomers, and they can't walk around as well anymore. And this is just like a lesson for us, that take advantage of the time that you have now. insert certain events when you're off to do things that you love. Another example I have is I had a colleague that retired from the army, and then all of a sudden I hear that she owns a bakery. I was like, what? You were a healthcare provider before, and now you're own. And she's so happy. I was like, I would not have known that your passion is baking. And then you can just see the light in her eyes. I was like, can you just imagine? I bet she was already doing this. Like every weekend, she was probably cooking right before taking care of
Yeah.
everybody else. So you just gotta fit in your passion along the way, even if it's just 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
Now, I know we talk a lot about, building up and finding the time for your passion, even if it's 10 minutes a day. And there is value in that. But with the pace of life today, it is still very easy to get to a place where you feel completely burned out. So,
Yes.
talk about what some of the strategies that you've used or you've helped others with to kind of prevent going to this place of burnout.
Yes. So, like I said, typically you don't want to have to spend a lot of money. And also, we have a struggle when, as we get older, we're moving 100 miles an hour all the time, but we're not taking the time to get to know other people. So, one is you can do a lot of stuff self help, but I know if you had an accountability partner, a friend or colleague that's trying to do the same. I have a friend, sometimes we call it the blind leading the blind, because sometimes you're both trying to lose weight and then you're both snacking. And then, so you're commiserating. So preferably you have an accountability partner that will actually hold you accountable, that says, hey, you told me one week ago that you're going to do this. Are you doing it? So it's that tough love. So find those, what did Brene Brown call it? Your hide the body squad or whatever it is. So figure out who those are, because those are so important, especially in the Milspouse community. You guys are all over and moving. The run club that I usually hang out with are the military spouses, because they're so motivated. Find somebody that can help you be accountable and hold them accountable as well. And then celebrate your wins. There's a process where you're doing so much for other people. How about celebrating the wins that you're creating for yourself based on that accountability that you've given yourself?
I mean, I think that's something that does not get talked about enough, just how much it does for your mindset when you
Yeah.
take the time to celebrate those wins and say, look, I did accomplish something that was good. Because we, by nature, tend to beat ourselves up and focus on all the things we did not accomplish, what we didn't get done.
Right.
And so, really taking that time to say, what have I done and what can I celebrate?
Yes. Right. That's why journaling is so important throughout anything that I do. Write it down, because sometimes, like 2-3 years from now, you're going through all your stuff. Like, oh my God, look how far I've come. But if you do it incrementally already anyway, it's just like an after action review. Review what happened, what went well, and what you can improve on a daily basis. And you'll go far just doing that.
Absolutely. So, we've talked about having that 5 minutes for yourself in the morning. We've talked about celebrating our wins. We've talked about finding a source of accountability. And the wonderful thing about the age that we live in is sometimes it's hard to find that in person because we're moving a lot. But for all the challenges of technology, it also allows us to stay in touch with people from previous
Yes.
duty stations and really build those relationships over time that can become those accountability relationships that help us hold ourselves accountable to the goals that we set for ourselves. So, any other tips that you have for us?
Yes, absolutely. So, with what we were just talking about, with everything that's available to us, and also there's all kinds of books. There's also apps, there's Fitness Pal to figure out. I only use free stuff. So, whatever is on there or whatever is available to you to hold you accountable on certain things. And also, I plan based on my calendar. Like, even if there's anything that I know that I have to get done, I put tiny reminder, bring paperwork for whatever appointment. Like I have it as a 1 minute reminder on my calendar. I have a personal one and I also have a professional one for work, and I color coordinated separate different colors from family to work related, so that when I see it, you can see where your white spaces are, where you're available when somebody says, hey, I need for you to do something, and you can look at your calendar right away and say yes or no right away. So that, I think, has been a lifesaver for me in anything, is the calendar, because you can
Mm.
never go wrong with it, because regardless of the time zone that I'm in, it will always be true that that's the time that I have available. And also you're able to share it on whoever you need to. And then the other is what's called eat the frog, is that doing whatever is the most important and the least favorite of whatever's on your task list, right? So just knock that out and get it done and move on to the next one. You'll feel so much better. So I think that's one of the, because sometimes we like to do certain things and you just knock it out, and in the time it burns out, and then you didn't do that thing that you hated that was
Yep.
very important to your
Yep.
task, right?
It's easy to do the task we like to do rather than the task
Absolutely.
that we don't want
Yes,
to do.
absolutely. That's right. So that those are a couple of things that I think have been very helpful for me throughout my life. It's not just career wise, it's even the time with family, with friends, or somebody's inviting to an event 2 years from now. I'm like, what? And then you're looking at the calendar, like, oh, okay, I'll pencil you in, and then we'll figure it out later on. So that's, I think, what the benefit of technology is.
Mm-hmm. So, if there was something that we have not covered yet, or even just one big takeaway that you
Mhm.
would want your readers to take away from this book, what would that be?
One is, I think we've talked to most of them already, and that primary one is take care of yourself first. And then
Mm.
the other is just thinking about just being proud of yourself. Because a lot of people that I think, because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Because I know certain people that will probably look at the cover of this and say, I don't need that. But you have to be ready, right? You have to be ready to get the input of whatever is being shared, not just this book or other people. You have to be open to the opportunity to be better than where you are right now. Because, of course, I'm sure you're fine, but there's always one thing that you can improve on that's doable, that's focusing on yourself, regardless of where you are. So don't get bogged down with, oh my God, I got so much things to do. Just do one thing. And then I think from then on, you'll continue to get something out of life rather than struggling and focusing on other people all the time, running out of time, and then feeling sluggish and not feeling important, right? So I think for the most part, you just being who you are is so valuable in where you
Mm-hmm.
are already. Take the time to focus on yourself, is it's very important.
Yeah, it is so important to just focus on yourself, take care of yourself so that you can show up for everyone around you. And then, like you said, to be open to new possibilities. The moment that we open ourselves up to what's possible, it's amazing what shows up. And how many things have happened in my life because I was open to how could this be good? How
Yes.
could this work out, even when it
Mhm.
feels like
Yes.
it's difficult and I'm struggling and I don't necessarily like it. But if I could just open myself up to possibilities, so many things happen and appear when we're ready for them.
Yes. Mindset of positivity, it'll come to you as an opportunity. Because if you're looking at it as another task of another, oh God, I got to do this, then it becomes a hindrance, right? So it's just, you have control of what your outlook is and whatever you need to get done. So have that positive outlook so that whatever comes in becomes a positive event.
Absolutely. So, one of the questions I love to ask my guests, because we're all on this journey, we are all seeking to live with more meaning and more purpose and less overwhelm in our lives. But most of us have some kind of purpose, passion, dream that we're working towards. So, what is one dream that you are working towards right now?
Yes, absolutely. So retirement is coming up and it's sometime soon, 2029, 2030 is travel. I just want to be a full-time traveler, learning from everybody with just a backpack on my back. So I'm preparing for that. And you know what that requires? Physical, right? So when you have certain goals at the later age in life, are you going to be able to physically do them? Are you eating right now? Do you have the ability to lift the things that you want to lift when you're older? I like this commercial of one gentleman, an older gentleman who's doing exercises of lifting, and then at the end is because he wanted to lift his grandkids. So something like that, so to me it's having the stamina to do world travel. That's what I do, at least 6 months. Somebody said I'll get bored, but I was like, no, I won't.
No, I mean, because I love to travel too. So I would
Mhm.
be right there with you saying,
Yes.
like, let's go. I'm
True.
ready. Like, what
Yeah.
do I need to do? So I love
Yes.
that for you. Let everybody know where they can get your book and how they can connect with you.
Yes, absolutely. So I have a website. It's Amelia DS, which is my initials.com. I do a blog every Sunday that actually is covering the book right now. And then it's also available in major bookstores, which is Amazon, Books A Million, and also Barnes and Noble. And here in San Antonio, they're in the local books like The Twig and also in Seguin. So I've been seeing like even other countries. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? My book is like in Asia, in Europe. So if you just Google it, there's a way that you can find it. But if you're local, if you want a signed one, just let me know and we'll make it happen. So I'm definitely on LinkedIn as well, on Facebook, Instagram, X. So I make myself available because this is my passion. So when I retire from the military, this is something that I will continue.
I love it. I will have all of those links in the show notes below. Amelia, thank you so much for taking the time out and sharing your passion with us today.
Yes, thank you, Christine. And I love you. You're a sunshine. So that
Thank you.
it just depends on, sometimes some people are too serious, but your outlook is definitely something that people need to gravitate towards.
I hope that conversation was meaningful to you because I know that time management is something that is often on our minds. How do we pursue the things that we're passionate about? How do we take care of ourselves along the way? How do we manage it all? So, as we wrap up today's episode, I hope you're walking away with this truth that your time is valuable and so are you. We covered a lot of practical tools, mindset shifts in this conversation, but I want to remind you of a few key things that Amelia Duran Stanton shared with us. Number one, prioritize yourself first. Even 5 intentional minutes a day can help you reset, replenish, and show up with more energy. Number two, know what matters most to you. When you are clear on your values and the vision and the life that you want to create, it becomes easier to say no to what doesn't align. Number three, identify your big rocks, the priorities that truly move the needle, and build your calendar around them. Number four, have a strategy for your time. Think long term. What's the legacy you want to leave? Who do you want to become? What do you want your life to be about? Don't just focus on what's right in front of you. Number five, fit in your passions along the way, even if it's just 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. You don't have to wait for someday to start living more fully now. You don't have to wait until you have the hour to spend at the gym. You don't have to wait until you can go all the way in on your big dream project. What is one thing you can do in small ways that moves the needle and makes life more fun and enjoyable today? And last but not least, find accountability, use your calendar, eat the frog, and most importantly, celebrate your wins and be proud of yourself. Because here's the fact of the matter: if you don't manage your own time, someone else will. So, what are you going to do to carve out 5 minutes for yourself today? Before the kids, before the chaos, what will you do for yourself? Now, I also want to recommend, if you go back and listen to episode, let's see if I can remember what it was. Fill your cup in 30 days, a simple start to self-care for Milspouses. Episode 235. I will link that one in the show notes, but that's a good starting point just to help you come up with small ways that you can invest in yourself. And that's a great place to start. But Just ask yourself the question today: what can I do for 5 minutes that will help me feel refreshed and alive? I am all about sustainable self-care. I am all about the ways that we can infuse better practices to take care of ourselves in the journey so that we can show up for those around us. If you are interested in getting a little more accountability and support, I would love to meet with you one-on-one. Just go to the website to find all the ways that we can work together, or check out the show notes for links to everything we talked about inside today's episode. Until next time, may you live filled, fueled, and full of joy. Hey, amazing Milspouse, before you go, I want you to know that I love hearing from you. The More Than a Milspouse community exists to help you thrive as a military spouse. Figure out what lights your heart on fire and empower you to live with purpose and impact. You can have an incredible impact simply by heading over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. But your impact doesn't stop there. You can empower those around you simply by sharing an episode with a friend or neighbor, someone who needs a little encouragement in this military life. And if this episode was meaningful to you, spread the love by taking a screenshot of this episode and tagging me on Instagram so we can continue to reach more people, change more lives, and shift the way that military spouses look at life. Because we are better together, and together we can change the world. Let's do it.